with the first pattern, the container presentational pattern. It was made popular by Dan Abramov a couple of years ago, the creator of Redux, and he works at Facebook. And the goal is to divide the data fetching logic from the rendering logic. So you have two types of components, the container components and the presentation components. The presentation components are responsible to present something on the screen. They don't have any logic in them. They just emit events when you click on them. And they basically are decoupled from the rest of the application. You don't have inside of them Vuex or any data fetching, anything that is related to your application. Too much. The containers are the opposite, of course. They are responsible to hold the state. They listen from the events from the DOM components. You can have multiple DOM components inside of it that and are responsible for the overall layout of the page for the container applications. I'm going to give you the example that we had before, the address input. This is one big container application, component, and it has three presentation components inside of it. The title, the address input, and the use current location button. And all the data fetching and logic is in the container application. And these three are only CSS and HTML. And the code started pretty simple. This is how it looked a year and a half ago. We just had the address input and the address. That's it. The container only was responsible to know if the user had an address or not. That was the only code. And this is how it looked. 33 lines of code. We got from the Vuex the address. If it had the address, we rendered a DOM component. If not, another one. But now in its current state, it currently is at 170 lines of code. And this is not what we actually want. It's a drawback of this pattern. And 170 lines of code is not that bad. It's still okay by today's standards, but it grew and grew when we reached this level. So why does this happen, right? We start small and we add more and more improvements to the component. Like our store cart here, it is at 600 lines of code, which is like double the amount we allow at Glovo. And we don't want this to happen. And every engineer has good intentions. Every PR has 2 or 3 or more approvals. And every feature toggle improvement looks innocent at the time, right? Every new addition improves the UX of the user, but decreases the developer experience of the code base. So how to avoid this? The first thing is to keep the responsibilities clear. Your container should only be responsible for data fetching and state logic. You should break the big container when it gets too big into multiple smart containers. And try to avoid applying this pattern to features that change a lot. Like if it's a core business feature of your application that brings money to the company, of course it's gonna be improved upon. Like every week you're gonna add more and more data to it.